da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol v'hayam, rishru shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tfilat ha'adam. O God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayers of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart. This is a celebration of the life of Grace Belkin. She asked for a celebration of life, and so you may see a lot more color here in clothing than you might at a normal funeral, and that is as per Grace's wishes. You'll hear a lot more about Grace during the course of the service. She has so many family and friends that it was hard to keep them away off the bima from wanting to come up and speak about her. So forgive us if we don't call you up, but we know that everyone here has so many wonderful things to say about Grace. We'll have time to share more after. Mourning is the price that we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to memorialize in endless pain. The gifts of spirit and love that our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. I'd like to invite up Jeff Belkin to share a few words.
Thank you, Rabbi. For those that don't know me, I'm Grace's middle child, her son from Atlanta. My brother and I are grateful for the love and support from all over, from her family and friends here at Bethel and Ponte Vedra, to our family in Memphis, New Jersey, Virginia, and California. For those who are unable to travel here today, we feel your love and know you are with us. Aunt Barbara, I know traveling today after celebrating your grandchild's wedding last night would have been way too much, even for you. Thank you for your words and being the person on the planet who knew my mom from the day she was born until this day. While it is only 4:06 there, it is past 5 o'clock here, so I hope you have that glass of bourbon handy. Go ahead and drink. L'chaim. I want to give a few special thank yous, too, before I say a few words about my mom. Thank you to Rabbi Dime, who was an incredible support from my mom these past months particularly. She was proud to play a part in bringing you here to Bethel to be her rabbi. And your countless visits gave her peace and strength all through her very last day. I also want to thank Debbie and John D'Angelo, who have been part of our family since my parents moved to Florida in 1994. When I corrected her math and said it was only 30 years since you met, she winked and said, well, it felt like 40. She and Dad loved you both deeply. And a huge thank you to her sisters here at Bethel. She said more than once that after Karen's passing 9 years ago and my father's 5 years ago, you all saved her life. Lastly, to Dave and Mary, who have been her companions here for years since we lost my dad, Zikaron Livrona. Dave and Mary shared every minute of the last 5 months of confusion, treatment, and hospitalizations. Y'all have been everything a mother could want from a son and a daughter. And Mary, we're with you as much as you need, with your own father going through his aging challenges thousands of miles away. Now, since this is a celebration of life, she demanded that and dictated party details. I think there's frozen Mai Tais out there waiting for us. Let me tell you a little bit more about Grace Belkin's truly incredible life. And I will do it mostly using her words, because after all, her words always were the best words. My mom grew up in Memphis, the third of 4 children of Ernest and Evelyn. I will go back and tell their love story in my mom's prose, but I want to skip forward a bit. My parents were married in 1965 and moved to New York. Dave and I were born in New York, and then they moved to New Jersey, where Karen was born. When Karen was old enough for grade school, my mom became a real estate agent. And what a good agent she was, consistently on Century 21's top 20 in the country. She soon got her broker's license and opened a brokerage, Grace Belkin Realty, and owned southern Middlesex County, New Jersey, kind of like The Sopranos, but for real estate. The blonde southern girl with wit and charm was a wizard at selling people their dream homes. A move to Florida followed, and a mortgage brokerage second career in Jacksonville took shape for my mom. My dad followed his passion for development in low-cost and public housing for the Jacksonville Housing Authority, and later a nonprofit. Then we lost my sister too young, at age 42, 9 years ago, of heart failure and complications. It nearly broke both my parents. Pain, grief, even guilt. What kept them alive, most of all and first of all, was each other, but also their friends, including their family here at Bethel. Then came my dad's passing 5 years ago at the height of COVID from mesothelioma. So how did Mom handle all of that? She wrote poetry for the private pain, and it is some heart-wrenching stuff to read. 60 or so poems that I counted. I won't be too dark, I promise, but here is one just about my dad. In it, she threads 2 details and mementos of his life into her words. A quilt my nephew put together of all my father's best sweatshirts, and a little sun-baked troll that hung from my dad's rearview mirror. She called it random. The us and we become I and me. I never thought of myself as a widow. Now I am. What does that really mean? It means the protection I always felt is gone. It means a loneliness you can't imagine. Comforting the quilt, forcing better memories than what dominated these last months and months and months. Days are not long, nights are long, feeling sorry for myself, feeling just sorry. Everyone over, forcing myself to allow that to happen, sitting in your chair, keeping touch, expressions of love you'll never leave us. On the counter, a troll and the candle, side by side, life and death. You are gone. So, in contrast to her poetry, her prose was public. It was for her family, it was for her friends, and it was for this community. And so it was joyful and happy wisdom, mixed with a lot of self-deprecating humor. Her introspective poetry made her fun storytelling possible. And as her granddaughter Sam told me, the opposite is true, vice versa. So now let me go back and tell about the beginning of their love story in my mom's unique prose. Memphis was and is a tight-knit Jewish community, needing to be so to survive in the Deep South in the 1900s, and unfortunately, still today. For my mom, I think she thought it a little smothering, so when my dad came calling and fell in love, she was more than happy to move east. The culture shock for each of them, though, was significant. My dad was a Brooklyn and Long Island Jew stationed at the Millington Naval Air Base near Memphis, and the small group of Jews on base connected through friends with the Temple Israel community. My dad was the one with the car on base, so when his friend Gene needed a ride to visit a Jewish girl in town, he asked my dad to drive. They arrived at my mom's house. It was just a visit, an old-time chaperoned in-home visit, not going out anywhere. Here is what my mom wrote about her lightning strike moment. The doorbell rang. I opened the door, obviously, but I don't actually remember opening it. But I do remember the second person to walk through my front door, and it wasn't Gene Goldberg. That second sailor had a sunburned face and a white line across his forehead, where his navy hat had shielded his head from the hot Millington sun. The next week, they actually went on a double date. And with my mom's friend in the front with my dad, and Gene and my mom in the back seat, because Gene was the one who knew my mom's family. After that first double date, my dad said to Gene, cleverly, that it was only fair if they switch off each week. So the next week, my mom sat in the front with my dad. They never switched off again. Here is how she described that choice, which really wasn't one at all for her, and her telling of my dad's same lightning strike moment in her own funny and humble way. By the way, this was all in a story written to her grandchildren who called my dad Papa. Quote, "It really wasn't a difficult decision. Gene was a bit of a braggart, and Pop-Up was not. Gene talked about himself. Pop-Up did not. He was more interested in my being blonde, blue-eyed, and Jewish. He would later say that all the New York girls he knew were dark-haired, always wanted to use their cars, which were nicer than his 1958 Cutlass, and never smiled. When I first opened that door with a smile on my face, he was, in his words, blown away." My mom wrote, "Could the women in the North be that miserable?" 2 months later, they were on a regular date, just the two of them. My dad pulled into a Shoney's parking lot. She wrote, "Pop-Pop turned off the engine and sat there. I didn't know what was wrong because he was just sitting there. Then he said, 'I think I have a stomach ache. I love you.' The rest is our history." Last story. About 2 weeks ago at Mayo Hospital, I was sitting by her bedside, and I sensed a moment where she was feeling the sadness and loss of my sister. And I said, "Mom, I'm having a great life, and there is no one in this world more responsible for that than you." We cried through smiles, and then she looked me square in the eye, furrowed her eyebrows, and said, "Besides you, that's just good parenting." Then she turned her head to the side a little and said, "Don't tell Dara that." Dara's my wife. "Dara, don't worry, you get the credit for the second half." A week later, Dave and Mary are with me and Mom again at bedside, and another one of those moments come. So I say the same words with Dave and Mary present this time, but I added Mom's punchline to the telling. I say, "Besides me," and we all laughed. That's just good writing. Mom, thank you for the words and the wisdom and the limitless love. We love you and we miss you.
We remember Grace Belkin and join our hearts together to give comfort and strength to her family. Mourning is a time filled with many, many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Grace's life with the millennia-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, to dream, to hope and to be and to lose. A fearful thing for fools this, a holy thing to love. For your life has lifted me, your laugh once lived in me, your word was a gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. I'd like to invite up Dara Steele Belkin to read, to share some words.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. As Jeff mentioned, I am Grace's daughter-in-law. Yes, Grace was a steel magnolia. The term made famous by the movie baffled me for many years until I came to know Grace. Magnolia, the sweetest and most delicate of southern flowers, but a steel magnolia is strong and tough, while appearing to be fragile and feminine. Grace embodied that paradox. Beneath her charming Memphis lilt, she was made of the strongest stuff. She felt emotions deeply, often too deeply for spoken words. She saved a lot of the exploration of those deep emotions for the page, keeping her spoken words brief and to the point. Sometimes when faced with a powerful emotion, she would cut herself off mid-sentence, shake her head in bewilderment, her eyes filling with tears. Like me, she was a crier, but particularly a happy crier, tearing up easily and quickly throwing up her hands and turning away to hide the tears in her eyes. She would have fit in among the movie's Steel Magnolias with her persistent sarcasm and teasing. Even in her last days, she was still needling Jeff about being only her second favorite lawyer, with the clear suggestion that I would be the favorite, which of course I knew better than to believe that, but sometimes gentle ribbing was her greatest show of affection. I knew I had won her over about 10 years into our marriage, when for the first of many times, she looked at me and quietly muttered, "Bitch." In response to some mild offense or another, with a wink and a sparkle in her eye and more affection than you could fathom. Indeed, Aunt Barbara confirmed it for me when we spoke to her the day after Grace passed, and she lovingly called her baby sister by the same salty term of endearment. When her illusions of a quiet, modest daughter-in-law evaporated as I grew out of my early shyness with Jeff's family, Grace was careful not to butt heads with me. She didn't even like that I called her Grace. But unlike my own mother, she was careful not to overstep, give too much of her own opinion, or disagree with us. If she doubted our methods, she would give us the trademark, "whatever," and move on. But I could tell that Grace sometimes had her doubts about the life partner her sweet, perfect Jeff had chosen. She forgave my strong-headedness a little bit more, however, with each grandchild I delivered. She delighted in her grandchildren, all of her grandchildren. She was bursting with pride for each and every one of them, and she recognized their individuality and celebrated their life choices. I have Grace's quiet strength to thank for my marriage. It's not a given that all men are equipped to respect, support, love, and celebrate an ambitious wife with strong opinions about so many things, and a large family filled with more of the same. But Jeff learned about strong women from Grace. He was raised by a career woman at a time when working mothers were rare. He was raised to respect and honor what she had to say, whether it was said forcefully or quietly. Grace put up with a lot from me. When we moved to Atlanta, we were physically closer to both families, but closer to mine. Proximity dictated that we spent more time with the Steeles than the Belkins, but Grace didn't complain, at least not to me. Instead, she made a point of asking about my parents and finding time to visit with them whenever she came to Atlanta, even though it meant sharing her grandchildren during the few precious days she had with them for each visit. And I won't even get into how we brokered a deal among these grandmothers whose older grandchildren already called them each Nana, to have one grandmother go by Nana G and the other grandmother go by Nana La. But perhaps she was keen to visit my family because in the quiet moments when they thought I wasn't listening, my mother Jane would marvel at Jeff's patience and kindness and would thank Grace for raising such an incredible mensch of a son. And it was worth a trip up to my parents' house for Grace to hear that validation of her parenting success. When Grace was struggling with her health these past few weeks and feeling low, she said to me, I'm channeling your mom. I'm trying to be strong like Jane. I don't know how she did it, but I'm trying to be like her. With the grief of my mother's passing only a few months ago, still raw, it was one of the best things Grace has ever said to me. Grace, I am trying to channel you and your steel magnolia ways. And now I'd like to read a little, the prayer for when a parent dies by Rabbi Naomi Levy, written upon her father's passing. I miss you. You gave me life. You were my protector, my teacher, my moral compass, my comfort. I feel so alone without you. No one worries about me the way you did. No one loves me the way you did. Please forgive me for the times I caused you pain and for any time I took you for granted. I can't begin to fathom all of the sacrifices you made for my sake. I want to thank you for all the ways you blessed my life. Nothing can replace the gaping hole your death has left in my life. But mixed together with all my sadness, there is the greatest joy for having known and loved you. I will remember your smile, your touch. I will remember your laughter, your kindness, your generosity, your determination, your love. Thank you for the time we shared, for the love you gave, for the wisdom you spread. I will always treasure the lessons you taught me. I will carry them with me all the days of my life. I am so proud to be your child. May God watch over you and bless you with gentleness and with love, just as you blessed me. Amen.
Excuse me. Psalm 23 reads, Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. I swear I put batteries in this before. Is this working okay? All right. Sorry about that. These are words from Grace's sister, Barbara Mansberg. And Miss Mansberg, if I mess anything up, please forgive me. But I've got them right here, the way you printed, the way you got them. So Barbara writes, my precious little blonde sister, Grace Evelyn, who was named for our grandmother and mother, inherited some of their best qualities. Compassion and wisdom top their list of virtues. Her thoughtful and thought-provoking responses to life's burdens and joys were always sincere, genuine, appropriate, and welcomed. Losing a daughter had to have been the most life-altering moment in her years of parenting. Supporting the children who had suffered the loss of their mother, Lou and Grace made their home in Carrie and Samantha's as well. As adults, these children hold that special part of Grace in their hearts. Ready for the late-in-life adventure, Grace and her walking cane joined her niece Sally's tour group to Israel. 10 days of walking, climbing, listening, and learning filled her Jewish soul with memories to last a lifetime. That thing keeps turning off. Forgive me. Always at the ready for a kind word and with a joke, an astute comment or a serious response, my precious little sister excelled. The past 4.5 years visiting Memphis and watching nephew Danny's family grow, the Grace effect happened in our young families and also with my own friends. Because of these last years now joined as sisters and widows, we reaffirmed our connectedness. And for me, these recent memories are the ultimate blessings of our sisterhood. I am thankful for our most special and shared moments and hold these precious memories close to my heart. I'd like to invite up Vicki Kennedy to share a few words.
What an honor. First, thank you, Jeff and Dave, for this huge honor of representing our congregation, because we all really love Grace, as you know. And I reached out to many of our congregants, to many of you, for words or stories that describe Grace. And what I received was a definite consensus. She never met a stranger. Grace connected with everyone, young, old, longtime member, potential member, and guests. Although once Grace contacted the potential member, many times they did become members, and whether they did or not, they knew that they were welcome. And isn't that the feeling we all got from Grace? She was always thrilled to see you and greeted you with that warm, sincere, infectious, and smile and huge hug. Her generosity of spirit seemed never-ending. Grace held many roles at Bethel. One of the roles she treasured and many benefited from was the caring committee. Many of you were recipients of calls from Grace, maybe as you became a widow or widower or recovering from an illness. Many received visits from Grace in the hospital or at home. She may have brought a little nosh, but always a kind, encouraging word. Some of you have told me that she visited every single day when she knew it was needed, and when she knew that she could add a little bit of comfort to someone's day and make them a little bit less lonely. Another role that Grace held was board member and secretary. She brought her experience from her previous involvement in synagogues, and we appreciate that. Many board members will recall the time when someone called her by an incorrect name. And in Grace's style, she absolutely took it in stride, and then it became a thing for everyone to change our names at the board meetings. She was, to say, at the very least, a bright spot, and no doubt, amazing bundle of energy, love, and warmth. Her light was bright, and she was generous and selfless in sharing it. Grace was terrific as she took on the liaison committee. Congregants could confidentially come to her with their concern, suggestions, and the congregant knew without a doubt that they were heard. Then Grace had a wonderful way of addressing the leadership with whom she needed to share that congregant's concern. Grace had a way of relaying concerns in the most positive way imaginable. Another recurring comment I have heard is how sincerely encouraging Grace was to everyone. I am certain we will all agree that any encounter with Grace left you smiling and feeling better about yourself than you had before seeing her. That was a huge part of Grace's amazing ability to connect. She focused on you and brought out your best self. She was your best friend. That applies to adults and kids. I asked some children to describe Grace. Listen to the adjectives that they use: kind, responsible, fun, happy, helpful, smart, positive, loving, enthusiastic, and friendly. Even a child recognizes wonderful qualities when they are demonstrated indiscriminately. For many of us, Grace was our biggest cheerleader. Whether you were converting, becoming a bar bat mitzvah, or planning an event, you knew it was successful with Grace cheering you on. And Grace's sense of adventure was obvious, whether it was traveling or trying something new. Just a couple of years ago, Grace took the adult Hebrew class, and although her travels prevented her from attending every class, she kept up via Zoom, email, or phone. Nothing held Grace back. And didn't you look forward to the newsletter and how she shared her humor, her fun and inspirational adventures, which included the inevitable obstacle? And Grace overcame every one because she knew her Bethel family missed her and needed her as much as she missed and needed us. And didn't you love when there was a situation and Grace just looked at you and waved, "Bring it on, bring it on"? Her ability to identify and solve a problem was astounding. Of course, she used it to bring it on for many situations, maybe a glass of wine or some news to be shared. Okay, bring it on. And didn't you love when she called and said, "I have a question," right? You never knew what it was going to be, but it was good. We are so fortunate that we've experienced Grace's amazing spirit, her soft kindness, her bit of sassiness, and her infectious smile. Let's channel her spirit and vow to show others the unending kindness that she showed us. Sorry. I've thought long and hard about how to tie this in with her theme of the day being a celebration of her life. I was devastated by the news, and if I could just kind of go off, Samantha, you touched me so today, okay, when she introduced me as Grace's soul sister. I mean, I felt she really was. I mean, and many of you have had the same experience. And I was devastated by the news, and for certain, there's an empty spot within our entire community. She was a bright light in our community that has left us. Many of you have shared that you have regrets about seeing or calling her during the last few months, and it was fast, because you know she would have called you. May I ask you to put those regrets aside? You wanted to go to be certain that Grace knew that you love her. Please believe me when I say she knew that she was loved. Before I would leave each visit, she asked me to let you know, the Bethel community, that she loves you, feels you, and appreciates your love. There is no doubt that we will miss her, but today I ask that in addition to the feeling of sadness, we also feel immense gratitude that we had the opportunity to experience Grace and maybe try to take away some of what she was. Be an encourager, a problem solver, a light in our lives, a sassy, spirited lady with a huge heart. And in her honor today and every day, let's be Grace. Be a little kinder, a little better listener, a little more encouraging, and yes, even a little bit more impish. I would like to conclude with one of my favorite quotes by Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will not forget how you made them feel. We love and always remember how Grace made us feel. Let's always carry those positive moments that she bestowed upon us. She encouraged us and made us feel proud of who we are. We miss you and love you, my friend.
Sorry about that. El Malay Rachamim is liturgy that we say after someone has passed. The translation goes like this: God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold her close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she, Grace Belkin, find a home with you, and may she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. I'd like to invite up Max Belkin to say a few words.
Is that a short joke? It's okay. It did need to be lowered. I will preface this by guaranteeing that it will be long, and that I will both laugh and cry. That's right, men can cry. We're progressive. But that is also permission for you all to do the same. Being able to laugh and cry is exactly what Nana would want. Not for people to cry over her, but to recognize all the emotions that come with losing someone we love so much. That was one of Nana's many strong suits. She was so in tune with her as well as others' emotions that she was able to love and connect with such empathy. Thanks. Her and I had so many conversations where this was apparent, and one more recent conversation really stuck with me. We laughed, cried, we got deep. I don't even remember all the details, but at the end we hugged and she said to me, "This is what's real, not that other bullshit." That was Nana. She was always real. You would expect that when being real and exhibiting all these emotions, one would present differently each day, but not Nana. She didn't have a bad day. She was always so loving and caring and optimistic, except on Sundays when the Jags were playing, as exhibited today. She always saw the good side in everyone she met, which is why everyone's favorite was Nana. She saw the good in people, and she always brought that out. When I was a sophomore in high school, I had a very challenging time and was struggling to make friends. One day, when I was over at Nana and Pop-Up's house after school, Pop-Up gave me a piece of advice that changed my life. He said, "Just smile. You're such a nice and fun guy. Just walk around school and smile." I was skeptical at first, but eventually I did it. And I began to make more friends and was so much happier everywhere I went. From then on began a trajectory that has shaped me to be who I am today. Now, why do I bring that up? Because although Pop-Up was the one who gave me the advice, he wasn't the one that smiled everywhere he went. I later realized that he gave me that advice because of what he saw in Nana. He watched how she smiled everywhere she went and how she interacted with others. That smile plus the blonde hair and southern drawl is what enticed him to stray from those jappy girls of the Northeast. No offense to those who identify in that category. But Pop-Up was the first to see what we all came to love, that Nana smile. Instead of saying, "Just smile," he honestly should have said, "Just be like Nana." Each day I walk around with that advice from Pop-Up in my head and do my best to be just like Nana. To everyone in this world lucky enough to meet her, she was their favorite. I cannot count the number of times people met Nana, and by the end of their conversation came up to me and was like, "Oh my God, I love your grandma so much." This phrase extended to all who met her, including every waiter, Starbucks barista, the barista at a different Starbucks, the Panera's manager, everyone at the temple, all of those in her loving family, and even the barista at the third Starbucks they went to that day. No matter where I was, I loved hearing about how much everybody loved my Nana. She was special. Many people that I've met via Nana, or when I've described Nana to my friends, they've often commented that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My mom and I even had a discussion recently saying of my grandparents, I most resembled her. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, "Max, did you just hype up Nana so much and then say you're awesome?"
I promise I'm not making this about me, but do with that information what you will. What I mean to say with that is, Nana, it's an honor to be compared to someone as incredible as you. But it's not just Nana's kindness and empathy that sets her apart in my eyes. It was her incredible resilience that spoke leagues to me. One such moment came that exemplified this strength came 9 years ago, almost to the day. After the tragic death of my Aunt Karen, I stood on this bema and read a letter I wrote to her the day she passed. For those of you who do not know, I came up here and was a bit of a wreck, understandably. I cried and barely made it through. I had so many voice cracks, and I promise that wasn't because I was a late bloomer. Then, moments later, Nana came up and delivered a beautiful speech. Despite it being one of the most difficult moments in all of our lives, one unfathomable to experience as a mother, she did it with strength, with elegance, with such grace. In that moment, I did not feel like, damn, did she really just show me up like that? No. I felt an unbelievable sense of pride and was truly awestruck at the strength of this woman. I wanted to be just like Nana. And it is not very often that people get to look up to their grandparents in that way. As people age, they often get weak and frail. Unfortunately, that's how so many people view their grandparents, as someone past their prime. But not Nana. She was like the Michael Jordan of grandmothers. I saw her in that moment, and I saw a woman so strong. Few others could look up to their grandmother and be able to feel that. But then again, as I realized that day and so many days since, my Nana, she's built different. There's so many times in her life where one could say that. At the age of 14, she sat at the back of the bus in Memphis, Tennessee, at the height of segregation because she was doing what she knew was right. Built different. At the age of 20, she schmoozed a Navy guy from Brooklyn with her smile and that Southern charm. Then convinced him to marry her after just 6 weeks. Built different. After starting a family, she decided she wanted to go to work, so became the best real estate agent in all of central New Jersey. Built different. At the age of 65, she and Pop-Up once made it to 3 different Starbucks in less than an hour. Built different. Many didn't know this about her, but she actually had an absolute cannon of an arm. This was put on display when she guest starred on the famous game of Jenny Skeet. She had Jenny literally shaking in her booties when she would walk in that room. Built different. If there was ever someone to look up to, it was Nana. She powered through so much in her life and did it with unparalleled strength. From all of her surgeries and ailments, she had enough ace bandages, crutches, and ankle wraps for every one of the grandkids to completely wrap themselves in and look like extras in the filming of The Walking Dead, which was actually done, by the way. Not that we were on The Walking Dead, the other part. Yet, still at 79 years old, she hiked the mountains with us in Acadia National Park. Built different. Mentally, she endured so many losses, and even after the death of her beloved of over 50 years, she got a box of tissues, made some damn good Mai Tais, and lived her life with newfound vigor. After Pop-Pop's passing, I would call her frequently, and with my other grandparents, it would take a village just to get off the phone. But with Nana, I was lucky if I got 15 minutes. Okay, Sugar, I have to go back and talk with the rabbi. All right, Nana, well, you can call me back afterwards. Well, after that, I actually have a synagogue meeting about this other thing. Okay, Nana, well, I'll actually be driving for 4 more hours, so you can call after that. Well, actually, I'm meeting with my friends for dinner, then we have this party afterwards, and everyone just wanted a piece of my Nana. And I was just grateful for whatever time we did get to talk. I mean, what kind of 75-year-old has 17 different social events in one day? Built different. Her empathy, her kindness, her smile, her passion, her strength, and her resilience. These were all incredible qualities Nana possessed. But it was her love I felt most often. It was her love that brought you all here. It was her and Pop-Up's love and devotion that created this beautiful family that sits before me. Her love was literally the only thing that got me through Sunday school because it meant we got to go to Nana and Pop-Up's afterwards. And usually a bologna and cheese sandwich would be waiting for me. It was her love that made difficult years in high school more bearable, as each week I would look forward to Tuesdays and Wednesdays when I got to get on the bus and go to their house for an afternoon. It was her love that always made her house feel like home. If I chose to tell you all the ways I felt her love over the last 27 years, I would be up here until next week. I won't do that to you. Because I know you all got to feel that love too. You each have your own stories and memories of her love that you'll cherish with you. However, I did want to focus on one aspect of her love that was constant and arguably her most significant. That was the love she shared between her and Papa. They spent over 50 years together. My 27-year-old brain literally cannot fathom being with someone for that long. They showed me what true love really is. They modeled a beautiful relationship for all of us to live up to. I think the most indicative piece of evidence for this love did not come in the form of many, many bracelets that Pop-Up gave to her, nor was it in the form of the Reubens that Nana made for him every night. No, it was when I would call them on the phone. Mind you, this was back when landlines were a thing. I would call and Nana would answer, give a brief greeting, and then hear, "Lou, pick up the phone. Your grandson's on the phone." Although each time it gave me a chuckle as I waited for Pop-Up to answer on the other line, this was indicative that even a phone call you guys wanted to do together. You always did everything together. Even after 50 years, you guys didn't even want to have a separate phone call. 2 years ago, you and I had nearly a 3-hour conversation. Crazy, I know. And during this, you told me the story of how you and Pop-Up met. You told me about Shoney's big boy, his tummy hurting, and how after only 6 short weeks, you knew you wanted to be with him forever. In that moment, I realized that's what I deserve, and I strive to have what you and Pop-Up had. Thank you for showing me, and all of us, the love that two people can have for one another. Fair warning, this part might have a few voice cracks, but it's on near the end, so deal with it. Make sure that's full. This initially began as a letter that I was planning to read by her bedside before saying goodbye. Nana, I'm sorry I didn't get to tell you all of this in person, but I know you're listening. I mean, I would hope. What better things do you have to do right now? I'd originally titled it, "Thank you, Nana," as there are no true words that need to be spoken. Nana, you have been a constant in my life since the day I was born. You and Pop-Up helped raise me, and the two of you, combined with my incredible parents, made me who I am today. You loved with full hearts and taught with such wisdom. You were the pinnacle of grandparents. You showed me kindness and love, even when the barista was taking quite a while to get that pot of decaf started. You were always there for a laugh. Even during our very last conversation, you managed 4 jokes in just as many minutes. You always accepted and loved others for who they were and pushed me to do the same. Although some of the people you and Pop-Up tried to set me up with, but I know you were just doing your duty as a Jewish grandmother. You showed me unrivaled strength and resilience that has motivated me through my own challenges. You guided me to be the best I could be, not just to do well in school, but to be the best person I could too. You shaped the person that I am, convincing me to be just like Nana. Thank you for being the hands that guided all of us. Thank you for raising and growing this beautiful family. You established a foundation of love and strength that enabled your 3 amazing children and 7 equally, if not even more awesome, grandchildren to grow into the best versions of themselves that they could be. Thank you for being the highlight of my week on Sundays throughout my childhood, then yet again during high school. Thank you for all the time, money, and effort you spent making me those bologna and cheese sandwiches. Thank you for all the silly birthday cards, the lunches at Jason's Deli, and the games of Scrabble and Mancala. Thank you for all the beach days together and for nearly tearing your rotator cuff from throwing me the ball so many times as I jumped in the pool. Thank you for all this Thanksgiving dinners and for making my dad and sister a completely separate meal because they were scared of the turkey. Thank you for all of the dinners you made us. I will forever cherish your voice yelling, "Dinner's ready!" from the dining room and walking into a table full of incredible food. Meatballs larger than my fist, vegetables soft and mushy, and of course, the freezer-burnt ice cream. Thank you for all the times you picked us up from school and had a day with the grandkids. Thank you for the sleepovers and for the incredible trips we got to go on together. I will be forever grateful for our last one when we went to Hilton Head. The trip actually made it out of the group chat. Having never gone to this place that meant so much to our family, I loved hearing of all the adventures our family had. Seeing all the places you guys stayed, being with you made me always feel connected to the web of family that extended beyond the bounds of time and space. From Memphis to New Jersey, from the 50s to now, you were the one that held it all together. Thank you. Thank you for being one of the most supportive and encouraging people in my life. I could always count on you and Pop-Up to hype me up. Thank you for all the long talks and for always being real. Thank you for being a role model and being someone I could always look up to. Thank you for doing it all with such grace. Thank you for all the memories at 57 Seawinds Lane. I will cherish them forever. Thank you for all the care and love you've given me. I will miss that the most. But thankfully, you overloaded me on the front end, so I'd have enough to last me a lifetime. But most of all, thank you, Nana, for being the best grandmother I could ever ask for. Say hi to Pop-Up and caring for us. I love you, Nana.
Grace was an awesome lady, and she'll be sorely missed by me, her family, her friends, and all of her family and friends here at Bethel. Her additional bonus extra chosen family of Bethel. We say of those who have departed, Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be a blessing. And I know that memories of Grace will be a blessing. She was always upbeat and friendly. She put seemingly endless energy into the causes she cared about most, family and Bethel. Through her many roles at Bethel, I got to know her soon after I started work. Grace always had a twinkle in her eye, and her sense of humor positively overflowed. Grace's family told me that the technical aspect of her Bethel board secretary position, of working dictaphone functions and typing up the minutes, sometimes got the better of her, and it wasn't her favorite thing, but she always did it because she loved Bethel. Along with being secretary, Grace was also a greeter extraordinaire and made everyone feel so welcome here. Vicky, as you mentioned, Grace, in her other role, congregational liaison, or ombudsperson, was trusted by all to take whatever they needed to say. They knew they could trust her with anything. And then she could relay it to the appropriate person, turning any kind of criticism into constructive criticism, which was a gift. And I have to say that as someone who received some of that constructive criticism, Grace did this amazing job with turning whatever it was into something that I could hear and receive and process and do. Her dedication to Bethel went beyond the walls of this building. A couple of years ago, Grace attended a beach cleanup at Michler's Beach. And at 70 plus years old, she did it just as well as anybody else there, collecting a bag full of stuff that should not have been left on the beach, and brought it all back, and we all collected, and she did just an amazing job of making that corner of the world more beautiful. Making the world better on the beach, in any person-to-person interaction. Grace made everyone feel seen and heard, and feel better about themselves for having talked to her. I know how much she means to many of you, because she means so much to me as well. When I went to visit her again, when she was at home in hospice, I told her that it wasn't just me who was visiting her, but it was everyone here, everyone who couldn't go, all the hugs and all the love. And I told her that I was carrying all that and bringing all that with me to her. And she said she understood, And she said, thank you. Thanks to all of you. She loved her family, her friends, and her community at Bethel. And so we say for Grace, and please repeat after me, Zichrona livracha. Her memory will be a blessing because we will carry Grace with us wherever we go in the future, and doing and modeling ourselves after Grace's kindness and her many gifts, we will be a blessing to all who meet us. Zichrona livracha, her memory will be a blessing. May the love and the eternal connection of our souls give us the strength that we need now to recite the words hallowed by time, sanctifying the name of God and honoring our beloved Grace Belkin with the mourner's Kaddish. I invite you all to rise in body or spirit. Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'v'yamachon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei kudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace on high bring comfort to us and to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Let us end with the words of Oseh Shalom in song. May God bring us peace and help us through this process of mourning our beloved Grace Belkin. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. And just in closing, it has been my pleasure also and honor to get to know Grace's family as we have come to this moment. You can tell just by talking to them for 10 seconds that Grace's humor and joie de vivre, her spark and joy in life, has been passed on to all of her children and grandchildren and all the ones that they have chosen to love. So thanks to all of you for everything you've brought to the world and for Grace. Thank you, everyone, and may we go forth and take Grace with us into life.